All right, we back. Hello, and welcome to the Weeder Life podcast. I'm your host, Erica Weederlight, and I am the CEO and founder of We the Light. I help humans who feel inadequate, broken, self-conscious, and shamed around their sexuality to reclaim their aliveness, their power, and to have a renewed relationship to pleasure while preparing themselves to feel hella confident to date others and themselves. AKA, I'm guiding people to live their #best lives. I have to give you a fair warning. I do unfortunately swear like a drunken sailor, so if you do have little ones by you, just be sure to pop in some earbuds. All right, friends, let's buckle up and let's rock it to this week's episode. Ooh, it didn't even begin yet, and I'm feeling the vulnerability. Didn't even begin, it didn't even start, it didn't even end, and I'm feeling the feels. And it's funny, I wrote this whole, by now you probably know how I work. In the beginning, I was like totally freeballing it with these podcasts. And now I'm like, okay, that's not how I work best. I have a structure. For the majority of this episode, we're going to go off the structure. We'll improv, we'll yes end most of this. But it's funny, like, to be completely honest, I was going to record this yesterday, and now I'm recording it today. But newer things are up for me, and maybe I was like, why am I like really procrastinating recording this podcast episode? And I'm in a totally different headspace. And it's funny because these tools around dating, right now I'm in partnership, but it's the same shit, like it's the same triggers, it's the same wounds. And it's funny because last night, like if I recorded this yesterday, it still would have been a really good podcast episode. It's jam-packed with information and good stuff, but last night I had like huge aha moments and like, oh fuck, I didn't think this was still up for me, I didn't think some of this stuff was still up for me because I deeply, deeply, deeply worked on it while I was dating, and it's not like there's a lot left, but a little bit's like, hello, like, hi, we want your attention. And so yesterday it was damn it, like I have to look at this and I have to hold this and move through it. So today I'm totally in a different headspace, energy space, because I was working on that. Yesterday I was more like, let's talk about dating. Again, there's a space for that, but today I'm like, let's talk about dating, and the stuff that it brings up. And it's funny, I was talking to my best friend Emily, and she's really been, I'm sure I'll talk about that today. Hi, Emily. Hi, Amelia. But she has really been on the dating journey with me, especially in the last, Emily, what say you? 2 years? Year and a half? No, probably 2 years. 2-3 years, honestly. And we play games, we play like green flag, red flag games. She's really been someone that's held me through this process. And we talked last night and I was like, oh, it's so funny. Even in my relationship, I'm in Trigger City. And I'm like, I have abandonment stuff coming up. And, we kind of talked through that. And we talked about like, even in great love, sometimes it's so fucking painful, because you're confronting vulnerabilities, you're being seen. It's like a mirror, your shit is up. And it's so funny because I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I remember when I first started working years ago with a dating/love coach, and now I don't. And I have this actually, happen with clients. And there's this story that we tell in this society that, there's this story, especially in the spiritual community, no shade, but it is, very present and up in the self-help community, that you have to be fixed, which is so fucked because no one's broken. But you have to be fixed. You have to be at 120% before you can get into a relationship. And again, years ago, I had that narrative going on. I see clients now that are like, well, maybe I need to do, 4 more programs, or maybe I need to do, this, and this, and then I can get out there. And there's nothing wrong with personal development. I think that's amazing. And I don't need to tell you this, if you're doing all of this work and you show up in relationship, bam, that just expands you. It expands the relationship. Like, there is such a safe, sacred place for that. But when it's coming from a place of, I need to do A, B, C, D, E, when it gets a little bit like, holy shit, before doing this, it's like a way to avoid the relationship. And I was doing that for many years. And it's funny because when I had this conversation with Emily yesterday, I was like, the good old reminder that like being in a relationship triggers you, so I was doing all of this work when I was single, you know what I mean? And holy shit, I'm working on all these different things on my attachment styles and being anxious and then being avoidant and abandonment wounds and this and that. Like it was great because I had this space to really fucking go in, dive deep, do the damn thing. But there's nothing like being in a relationship because, and I was talking about this yesterday with my partner, I was like, I wish I could have worked this out before, but like, and he was like, no, this is a very specific trigger that you could only get by being in partnership. And so I see this narrative, and I just wanted to talk about that quick before we really dive in, that this narrative is up of like, you have to do all the work and then you'll be good. It's like, LOL, like when you're with a partner, are partners that really are holding space for you and see you. Oh man, like there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it because it's lovingly forcing you to look at your stuff and to deal with the stuff. And so, Emily and I were joking. I was like, I've wanted this for so long. And yet sometimes it can be so painful, and love sometimes can be so painful. And the best way is because, yesterday, to be completely transparent, as you probably could hear my voice, I had a night, I'm like, oh, what a night, but not a good night. It wasn't Jersey Boys type of night. And it was like, damn, like confronting my shit that I thought I worked through. And yet I'm really grateful. I'm like, oh, like, of course, part of me is like, I wish I was on a pink cloud and, rainbow shit was coming out of me. Like, sure. I mean, I don't because that sounds fucking horrible and there's no contrast to that and all that. But this has given me an opportunity to like dig deep again, and she loves digging deep. If you know me, I'm like, all right, let's look at this in the face, like, let's deal with this. And so as frustrating as yesterday was, I was like, okay, there's some love cracks here that need some love and attention, and there's some space. And it also does now, today coming out the other side, it gives me some peace because I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense why I was showing up crunchy here. That makes sense. And now I have an opportunity to show up with love and hold that shit. So I wanted to give that little preface of like, I've been doing this fucking goddamn work for years. I've done it through dating, and now I'm doing it in a relationship. It can be confronting, it can be triggering, but it's beautiful. I would have never really, honestly, I would have never known what came up yesterday if I was just like bit-boppeting down the city. You know what I mean? Like, sure, I would have been like, yeah, that's a little bit, but I wouldn't have to really go deep and investigate. So I am, as painful and as rude and as confronting as it is, I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity. Clearly, because the tears were flowing. If you saw my face today, you would be like, oh, she's a little baby. She's a little baby that needs cucumbers over her eyes. But like, clearly, that's in my body. And I didn't think it was. I was just like, here I am, like apparently avoiding this. And so even though it was painful as hell, and it's probably going to be a little bit of a process, I am grateful that shit came up because apparently I've been walking around with it. You know what I mean? Like, apparently fear thoughts have been running rampant in my head. Apparently I've been living with that tension, with that fear in my body. So as much as it blows and it's rude that I have to fucking do this, I'm like, I feel a little bit more free because I'm like, there you are. That's what's been, like, I mean, there's probably other things, but like, that's what has been nagging at me. And that is what needs my love and attention. And so I'm sure as I figure it out and as I work the goddamn tools, I will keep you posted on my journey. And that's part, I say this probably in every episode, but like, that's something that's really big to me in this work. Like, it's really, I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you do, but the coaching world, the spiritual world is like a unregulated universe. Like, anyone could be, I mean, I'm sure you saw the fucking, you've seen documentaries on this, but like, anyone can be a guru, anyone can be, which is great. Like, that is great. I think we all do have, we all are powerful. We all can teach people things. We all are important. We all matter. But it gets a little yikes-city when people just regurgitate information that they read from a book, or they regurgitate information that they, took from a masterclass. And so that's why, like, again, sometimes great intentioned, but we're real humans that have trauma and pain and real things that need, real holding. And so I say this almost every episode, but it really means a lot to me because I'm not trying to regurgitate shit onto people, trying to hold real space, is I have to fucking walk my walk and talk my talk. Like if I'm holding people through divorce, breakup, dating, love, marriage, self-love, confidence, knowing their body and pleasure, you bet your bottom dollar I'm doing that shit myself. Like I'm going to be crossing the mud, first of all, with you, but also I have to walk my walk and talk my talk because you feel that shit when someone's inauthentic and they're like, why don't you do this? It's like, ew. So that's why I wanted to like vulnerably share this, is that like, I work on this shit daily and still stuff is still going to be up. I mean, that's part of being alive. You know what I mean? Like stuff is always going to come up, and I'm grateful that I've trained and I have shit tons of tools and community that I'm like, all right, we back. I'm sending up my white flag. Let's deal with this. And as a good space holder, I need to have people that hold space for me. Like I need to be I just hired a new amazing coach that I'm so psyched about for the new year. So I just hired a new coach. I'm going to get my ass. Apparently yesterday, one of the downloads was, you got to get your ass back in therapy. I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm going to get my ass back in therapy in the new year about this specific issue that's coming up. And again, teasing you a lot, but I'll talk to you more about it as time progresses. But get my ass back in therapy. I just hired a fucking amazing coach. I'm continuously in group programs and, to have that community. And that's a very privileged stance, and I'm very blessed to have that. Not everyone has that access, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to create this podcast. Like, I'm blessed that I could go out and be like, I'm hiring a therapist. Like, that's a very privileged, very blessed stance. And part of the reason why I'm sure you've seen this is like so much of my work is free, is I want people to feel like they have a safe space and they have a space, to come and be seen and get some information and be held. And again, that was a huge intention of this podcast, is I'm like, if you can't work with me 101, or if it doesn't resonate or whatever, I want someone to be like, I have a space. I can go listen to that podcast with that crazy girl that always sings, and I can feel safe. I can feel heard. That's why I do all this free shit, is because I know I have been so blessed, and I want to make a safe space for everyone that needs it. So I have the podcast. I have that free book. What do I have? So many free things. I have the podcast. I have the free book. What does she have? I have my blog. I have, the free, I actually wasn't going to talk about this, but here we are. I have the free 60-minute session because, working with me one-on-one, of course it's an investment. We go in for 6 months and we talk every week, like that does have a price tag. I do try to be flexible, with people that need help and all of that, but it is an investment and it is a price tag. There is a price tag attached to it. So that's a huge also reason why I do the 60-minute sessions, the free 60-minute sessions, is, first of all, if someone's like, I want to see what you're about and I want to work with you, great. That's an opportunity. That's a portal for them to, let's chat and let's go there. But for people that are like, I will never be able, like, I just want to go in and feel held and seen. I'm like, yes, like, this is for you too. I want you to feel like you're seen and you're loved and supported and you have community within this community, because this community of people is really fucking great. I am grateful, and I brag, and I celebrate that it's just a badass community of amazing people, and I want that to be accessible to everyone. Wow, didn't think I'd go there. But with that being said, if you want my free shit, I actually have tons of it. It's like, everyone's like, you have so much free stuff. So feel free to slide into my DMs at @WeTheLight_LLC. That's on the gram. Or go to my website. That's where most of this shit lives. The blog, the podcast, obviously, the free book, the free session, the free hour session, all of the free stuff lives on my website, which is www.wethelight.org. Go on there, get your free stuff, and we could be in community together. Because talk about how a dating coach dates, is community. Major and massive community. Like I said, I talked to my bestie, my little angel baby, Emily, yesterday. I reached into communities to use tools to process and digest this. I have my coaches. Now I'm going to go back into, especially, we'll talk about this in a second, but like This shit takes a village. Like, this shit takes a village to process and digest our deepest triggers. And usually in relationship or in dating, we're faced with our deepest triggers, like the most painful stuff. And like, sure, can some of it you do on your own? Absolutely. But most of it, you need a mirror. You need someone to hold space for you. You need community holding you and loving you and supporting you. So with that being said, I'm here and I want to, you to feel like you have another person, another community to feel safe, held, loved, and supported. Okay? It's really funny because, well, I don't know if it's really funny. It's interesting, I guess. But I remember, I don't know math. I'm like, what year is this? So I'll say 9 years ago, I hired a world-renowned, and she actually was, like I talked about in the coaching industry, anyone could be fucking world-renowned, anyone could be the best, but she actually was amazing, and I was like, thank God, like I believed her marketing, and she actually was right. But this world-renowned love and dating coach, and she was actually phenomenal, and it's so funny because at the end of us working together for a year, I did end up getting into a relationship. But that wasn't the point. It's so funny because a lot from what I got from her was self-love, like deep self-love. Then that helped me get into those pleasure programs and, feeling good in my body and feeling safe. Like, it's funny because I did learn a lot about dating, but because there was such a lack of self-love, because there was such a huge story in my body of blood, sweat, and tears and it being hard and pain and trauma, like I didn't even scratch this. And that's okay. I'm glad younger Erica didn't know that because I was like, got what I needed. And I did get what I needed, but I wasn't close to what I needed in dating. But that program really allowed me to go deep into the self-love journey, into, feeling good, feeling confident. I hated myself. You know what I mean? Like I absolutely hated myself. So going in and I left feeling like, okay, I actually do love myself and I actually do see myself as a valuable human being. Like that shit is priceless. And so that's part of my work too, my program too, is yes, we go in on dating and your attachment style and how you're showing up in dating, but we also have to do the self-love work and all that comes with what I did in that first program. And it's funny because so I did that work, then I did the pleasure shit for a really long time and I kind of wasn't undoing, the narratives and the cultural narratives around pleasure. It takes a fucking long time. And it did for me. And it's still up for me. I mean, we live in a toxic patriarchal society. Nothing wrong with the patriarchy. Just want to clarify. But a toxic patriarchy, not fun. So it's hard to consistently undo stories, undo narratives, undo tales about feeling good, about feeling pleasure. It feels like, how the fuck is that possible? So I was working on that for many, many years. And then she was ready for real dating. And that was confronting. Doing the self-love work was like, oh my God, I'm gonna vom. Like, this is very confronting. But doing the deep dating work was very confronting. It was very confronting. And Emily dates, she's like, oh my God, you've dated truly thousands of humans. And it's true. And I'm so grateful for every single one of them. I really some of them were great people. I wish them the best. I'm like, yay, I'm rooting for you. And others, I learned so much about myself. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this was up for me. And this is a Nicole Moore thing. So go look up Nicole Moore. She's a great, great love dating relationship coach. Nicole Moore says dating for growth versus dating for outcome. And I teach my clients that because I don't know about you, but especially with the biological clocks and especially with the gram and especially with everyone, like there's a big, I need to have this thing now and I'm wrong and I'm behind if I don't have it now. Like, ooh, who the fuck needs that story on top of trying to find, oh my God, it's so sticky and so much pressure. And it kind of, it bleeds into so many of us. And so her suggestion is dating for growth versus dating for results. I'm sure you know what dating for results looks like. It's like, I'm going to go out. Is this my future husband, wife, partner? Like, who is this them? And it's like, bleh. Like, first of all, that's so much pressure on you. That's so much pressure on them. It just feels, as we say on this fucking podcast, crunch, crunch, crunchy. You know what I mean? Like that feels so crunch. But if you're going for dating for growth, and that's, the last 3 years before I got into partnership. I don't know if that timeline makes sense, but I think it does. But the last, we'll say 2.5. Emily, fact check me. 2.5, 3 years, whatever. I think 3 years sounds kind of right. But the last few years, I had to constantly readjust. I'm dating for growth. I'm dating for growth. I'm dating for growth. Because when you're dating for results, it just feels yikes. And I'm not saying abandon ship and not have morals and not have, go in knowing what you want. No. I think that's actually towards the end, I actually was very, hello, not aggressive, but I was in the past, I would settle for absolute asinine bullshit. And everyone's like, can you do a podcast episode? Because guys, I'm not kidding. My dating tales are so fucking crazy. It literally makes Sex in the City look like Barney. I have met the most interesting humans. And I think that's my issue, is that I was like, I'm so entertained. These people are so interesting. And I'm like, I want to talk to them. And it's like, you could talk to them, you could send them love, you can think they're interesting, but you don't have to date them, Erica. So one day, I will do a podcast episode. I'm not kidding. I think I've seen the craziest fucking shit that you'd be like, excuse you? And people cry, at these tales. They're like, why did you entertain this? I'm like, I don't know. So that's important. I've seen so much craziness that I think I was like, okie dokie. We did the crazy thing, the crazy New York City dating thing. We did it. And I got to a point where I was like, I could have morals, I could have standards. I'm going to be clear with, not in an aggressive way, I'm looking for my person, whoa. Not that, but I was clear with hey, I'm not looking for a hookup. I am looking for something more serious. I wasn't ignoring signs because as Emily knows, I was just the best at ignoring all the red flags. I'm like, oh, but red is so beautiful. Look how gorgeous red is. I really good at ignoring red flags. So I was like, no more of that. We're going to be honest. We're going to be transparent about what we want. And that hurts sometimes because it's so much, the deal. It's so much easier sometimes to be like, but they're okay. I just want it to work. And I was like, God damn it. I know it was so sticky and it so sucked because I don't know about you, but for a long time, and I think I still have this with other things like money and, other shit. I had a big scarcity wound. Yeah, we'll say wound. But a scarcity, honestly, it felt like a fucking black hole where I was like, I will take the breadcrumbs. I don't care. And it's like, wait, but if you wait, you could potentially, have the whole feast. You could have the surf and turf. You could have amazing company at this feast. You could have a damn fucking feast. And my body was wired for scarcity. And I was like, just give me the breadcrumbs. It was so fear. There was so much fear coursing through my body. I'm like, I'll take what I can get because we had unworthiness. We had undeserving. I was like, I'm not deserving of the feast. I'm not worthy of the feast. So just give me the breadcrumbs. And so undoing that fucking pattern that I created, honestly, probably since middle school. It's when I would have crushes and boys would say horrible things to my little baby Erica. And just treat me like shit. And I'm like, that's okay. I deserve the breadcrumbs. That's a pattern in the making. That's years and years and years of a pattern being built. And so undoing that felt really fucking scary because I'm like, if I don't take the breadcrumbs, sometimes it feels scarier to have nothing. And so I had to really work on holding myself through that and trusting something better is on its way. And it felt really fucking scary to also say no to people because she's a people pleaser, or she's a recovering people pleaser. I want to celebrate myself. But, she's a people pleaser, and excuse you, you have no worth, you have no value. How dare you speak up? How dare you don't have a voice? Oh, there was a lot of de-armoring, unlearning, a lot of shit had to happen. It's like you talk about this and it feels like a different life. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I've been through so much. I've done so much fucking work. And it's so funny. I said this to Emily yesterday. I'm like, I have done so much motherfucking work, and truly so much motherfucking work. And I wouldn't change it for a thing because I've done so much work. There's rarely a situation where a client walks in the door and I don't know what they're talking about. maybe it's not the same experience, but I'm like, yep, got you. I know you. Yep. A different degree, but I've experienced that flavor. Like a different degree, but I get you. I see you. I feel you. So I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's like, here we are, like I'm actively working on my shit. I'm holding people through shit. And I get triggered as hell. Like I had my experience yesterday, and I'm sure it's going to take me a while to unlearn these fucking patterns, but I'm committed to it. I know it's going to change me, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to be a better partner, lover, human than I could have ever been before. Like this is going to help me be stronger and a better human altogether. So first and foremost, I'm totally going off script on this because I think that I just have so much to fucking talk about on this because it's so up for me. This topic is so up for me. I would give yourself some grace, whether you are dating. Oh, we're talking about dating for growth. There we are. So where'd she go? But dating for growth, instead of looking at every opportunity as, fuck, that's not my person, I'm fucked. I see so often people are like, I'm fucked. It's like, hold on. The more no's, the more unalignment, you're getting closer. A huge part of this conversation is mindset, and I would suggest going to my mindset episode. And I'm not suggesting toxic positivity and being like, it's okay. Like, I'm not suggesting that. But I am suggesting our brain is very cute, especially when they're triggered. So our brain is going to go to a really dark place. They're going to tell us stories like you're never going to find the person, you're too broken, you're too fucked up. So once you enter the dating world, please watch your brain. Lovingly, we love our brain. They try to protect us. They want us to be safe. They want us to survive. But the brain is going to say every reason for you to get the fuck out of there, is going to say, this isn't going to work. So I just want you to get good at reframing fuck shit that the brain says. So the brain, I see it so often. People are like, why? I keep fucking it up. I'm not. And I'm like, hold on. All of these no's means you must be getting closer to a yes. Or, instead of looking at it as you're wrong, you're bad, I'm like, what is the lesson in this? And when I was dating for results, it just, like, it grosses me out. Like, I feel the tension in my shoulders. It makes me want to vom a little bit. But when I started dating for growth, oh my God. I mean, I had material from my therapist every week. And I first of all, like, good material. I was like, fuck, I didn't know how anxious I was. Or damn, I really thought I worked up my wound around men. Like, I worked around that for so many years, but shit, it's up. And fuck, I didn't know my abandonment wound was out and ready to play. And like, I had all of these amazing humans that came into my realm. They gave me, even though some of them were tragic and rude, they gave me gifts. Like, they gave me gifts of like, oh, I ignored this gem. Thank you. Like, thank you. Now I get to work on this. And it's funny, I think you probably can assume she's a notes girl. I love putting notes in my phone. And I actually was going through it yesterday because I was like, what? Like my dating notes. And I was like, oh, I wonder, haven't tapped into this part of the phone for a while. Like, what's in here? And so what I would do is I would put a note section in my phone, and it was like, I think I wrote it like, I'm so cute, but like love lessons. And one day I'll just read it to you. It was a list. But it was really helpful because I would go on these dates, and sure, I'd write about like them, like, and I just told an amazing client to do this. She's on the edge of, should I date this person or should I not? And I said, go and write down how you feel in your body, trust your intuition, what comes up. And so she's a genius, and she's the most amazing person on the planet. And she's going to enjoy her weekend, and she's going to write what comes up in her body. So I would do that. That was part of the notes. But what I would suggest to you is I also wrote like love lessons. So I wish I gave examples, but I looked at it yesterday. So it was things like, sounds aggressive, but I'm going from memory here, so forgive me. I should have brought the tea. I feel like I'm on the Real Housewives and I'm like bringing the screenshots. But it was stuff like, I'm ready to like love myself on a deeper way. Like right now I love myself in a familial way, and I'm ready to really deeply love and see myself. I remember another note was something like, I'm showing up right now and I'm giving all of my power to these men, and my energy is like so leaned in. Like, I need to lean back in a way and remember who I am. Remember that I'm powerful and I'm worthy and deserving. What were other notes? Like, be kind to your mind. Like, what I don't shit, I should have gotten whatever, you get the point. But I would write like I would go on the like I'm showing up avoidant here. Here is where I show up anxious. The abandonment wound comes out here. I feel safe around addiction. I know chaos really well. How can I break the pattern of holding people through addiction and through chaos? And that it just a lot of shit that like I was like, I have to write this out and see this, or else you know the deal. It's like, oh, anyway, that was a bad date. Like, but there was like I was being presented with really good nuggets. And it's funny, I was going through my phone yesterday and I'm like, oh, it's since I've been actively working on this stuff isn't really up for me anymore. Now new stuff is up. New triggers are being gently played at, but I had that note to like keep reminding myself and, keep holding myself. And it's so I wasn't fucking around. And one of my coaches, because I have thousands, again, it's a very privileged stance, a very blessed stance, but one of my coaches is Julia Wells. I think she's on the gram like Julia Mother effing Wells, I think. And her thing, so she went, I'm going to butcher this, but she went on a date, 30 dates in 30 days. And it was the same thing, dating for growth. It wasn't about, I need to get the person. It wasn't about that. It was showing herself, showing the universe, like, I want this fucking thing. And I'm going to do whatever is in my power. And she's a business coach, a pleasure-based business coach. And her thing is, okay, you want the milli, or you want the, 10K month, 20K month, or you want these clients or whatever. What will you do to show up? Same with love. Like, you really want that partnership. What are you going to do? People are like, oh, no, thank you. Like, I'm good. Like, oh, I really want 5 new clients. Fabulous. It's a great desire. What are you going to do to show up? And that means energetically, like, who are you going to be? What are you going to do, like, to take care of yourself, to hold space for 5 new clients? And what action steps? Let's take love, because that's the topic we're on. So love. Okay, I really want to meet my person. Awesome. And I always do this with clients, like with goals, we do the yin and the yang. And so I say, okay, the yin is like the energetics, who are you becoming? So, okay, I want to meet my love. Awesome. So the yin is like, who are you becoming? Are you leading with love? How are you creating a love-filled life? Like, what is the energy? What is almost like the spiritual work? So the yin is more of like the spiritual work around the desire. The yang is the more like action step thing. So the yin is, we'll say in dating, I'm taking really good care of myself. I'm working, like we talked about, I'm working on all these triggers and these things, and I'm showing up in love, and I'm leading through love. And the yang is I am scheduling a date a week. I am consciously, instead of just me mindlessly scrolling through these fucking apps, I'm consciously breathing, I'm feeling into them, I'm having really good conversations, I'm feeling into my body, whatever. You know what I mean? So there is this like energetic conversation, and there is a action step conversation. And so why I love what Julia did, now that I'm like on a roll, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to have to be a few episodes. There's so much to fucking talk about on this topic. So Julia did the 30 dates in 30 days, not with the intention, and she actually has a podcast episode of that. So definitely go check it out. Julia Wells. And I think her podcast is Wait, What the Fuck? So go check out Julia. There's a whole episode on dating in 30 days and 30 dates in 30 days. And again, it wasn't I'm going to find my person. And, sure, that's what she wanted. But it was showing herself like, I am fucking committed to this desire. I am showing the universe, like, I am committed to this desire. Like, I am going after this thing. And that's in my own flavor what I did. First of all, I was working with a therapist. That was very LOL. I remember I told Emily was like, it's time to leave this therapist. Because she's like, you got no problems. I'm like, oh my. I'm like, someone help. She did help me a little bit through this stuff. So I was working with a therapist, and I was working with my friend Jen. And Jen and I both completed our sex, love, and relationship certifications together. So what we would do is we would do these exercises, these dating exercises that we learned to hold other people through. We would do it on each other because we're like, let's get really good at these exercises so we could help others, but like, let's work the fucking tools ourselves. And we'd meet every week, we'd do the tools. And then in addition, I was like, Jen, I think this was in the summer. I was like, I'm going to dare us to, I think it was go on a date a week or talk to someone a day. I don't actually remember the specifics. And we were like, oh, this feels overwhelming. But the point was, We were committed to the desire. We were committed to showing up. We weren't like, I'm going to find my person at the end. We were like, I'm showing up. I want this thing, but I'm dating for growth. And it was great because every new person was so fabulous. I'm very grateful for them, but they brought new lessons in for me to be like, ooh, gotta confront this, gotta confront this, gotta confront this. And that I wanted to talk about because, first of all, commitment is a big piece in relationships, period. And so often I see people not wanting to commit. They're like, I want a relationship. And this goes for any desire. I want a relationship. I want 10 new clients. Okay, great. What are you willing to do? It's like, okay, so it's not from a place of judgment or harshness or being mean, but it's like, okay, what are we going to do to make that happen? And not in a gross, like, make it happen way, but like, what are we going to do to get to that result? And again, Nicole Moore, she's really on my mind, apparently. She's a phenomenal coach. Nicole Moore was talking about this subject too. Like, you're signing up to be committed in whatever capacity, in whatever relationship you want your relationship to look like, but you're committing to someone else. You're committing to dating. You're committing to this thing. And I believe she was saying she was struggling with committing. And so what she did was she signed up to run, I believe it was like a 5K. And the point of that was that she was like, I wasn't good at holding myself through commitment, through holding myself consistently. And she's like, and that thing, it's an example of like, I had to show up every day and train. And I had to, like, I wanted that desire at the end. I didn't want to do the fucking pre-work, but I did it. And it proved to myself I can commit to my desires. And that's my recommendation for you, whether you are dating, whether you're in a partnership, and we all have desires that we like are really cute and we skirt around. We're like, I really want that thing. I really want that thing. And we're like, don't make me do the work. Like, don't make me commit. Don't make me go after it. It feels really hard and overwhelming. And so that's why I suggested the yin yang tool. So let's take a desire that you want, right? So maybe you want to pause this. Maybe you want to get your phone out or a notepad. I want you on the top of that note page, or just think about a desire that you really want. And you're like, ooh boy, like this is triggering. And actually, I'm going to throw this into the mix. I want us to, so we have the desire on the top of the page, right? I want you to comb through and make space. So I want you to write a bullet point or a little dot there, committing to your mindset around that goal. Because if it does feel big or triggering, there's probably some fears around why you can't have it. And I do want you to go back and listen to the mindset episode. And I do have mindset tools that I want you to have, because so often we have these desires that we really, really want. And so much fear comes up of like why we shouldn't have it, why we would be bad, gross, wrong if we did have it. So at the top of the page, we have your desire. Right underneath it with that little dot, with that little bullet point, I want you to commit to you undoing the fear around that. And if that's, if that looks like you reaching out to me, I'll send you this mindset stuff. I want you to unhook yourself from the stickiness of having that thing. I don't want to get too into this because I talked about this all in the mindset episode, but I want a white Mercedes, right? I fucking always use this. I want a white Mercedes. But then we have these fears. I'm disgusting. I'm bad. I'm shit around money. I'll burn through money. People with Mercedes, eat the rich, whatever. We have all of these thoughts about the thing we want. Well, of course it's not going to happen. Of course I want love. I want love. I'm not good at love. I fucked that love up before. I'm too broken. It's a contraction. You know what I mean? Like they don't match up. So I want you to, first of all, email me, info@wethelight.org, and I'll send you this work to unweb yourself from these thoughts that feel really gross around what you want. Because we need to clear the space before we bring it in. So let's let's clear that shit up. Let's have a healthy, more aligned, juicy relationship to the desire you want instead of feeling shit and shamed and bad about it. So that's step one. Then the bullets underneath it is I want you to write the yin and I want you to write the yang. So the yin, okay, who do you need to be? What's the spiritual work of it? And the spiritual work really might be mindset. How would you, if you were to have this thing, how would you show up? What would that person look like? Who would they be? And how can you start showing up as them? Yang, what action steps? No. And I want you to write a list of action steps. It could be big ass action steps or it could be as really small. So dating. Okay, let's take dating as example. Yin. I would need to show up and, in a loving way, really commit to this. So how am I going to commit to this work? How am I going to show up in the lens of love? How am I going to make dating a priority? Great. Yang. Let's write those action steps out. Maybe it's signing up for the app. Maybe it's once a week going on a date or talking to someone new or whatever. Like, I just want us to write out action steps and then commit to those action steps, because it's like, especially love feels like this elusive thing that it's like, it should just fly and drop into my hands. And it should. Love is a powerful, beautiful thing that I am obsessed with. Like, it's a healing, amazing tool that we all have accessibility to. So it feels like I have to action step around love. And so I know it feels like counterintuitive, but if we don't show up for the thing, it feels hard. It feels sticky. Then we create stories like we're unworthy and it's far from us. And so I want you to notice where you are at with your relationship to commitment and committing to your desires and committing to dating. Because again, so often people come in my door or on my Zoom room and they say, I want love so bad. And I'm like, fuck yes. How's it going? And they are like, and again, that's a nuanced conversation, because sometimes we have trauma to unpack. Sometimes we have fear, so I don't want, there's a bigger conversation at play that there's other things that we have to unpack, but so often it's like, but I want them to come to my doorstep, so it's like, how are we lovingly, gently, slowly, day by day, walking closer to this desire versus feeling victim to it, and being like, this isn't happening for me. Like, how are we going to slowly, with love, with compassion for ourselves and others, walk towards this thing? It's so funny. I wrote, my notes are so LOL, but I wrote, triggers are great in caps. It allows you to heal, but it does. We talked about that, but again, every fucking episode. But Regina Thomashower, if you haven't checked her out, really talked about her in every single episode, but she does have a great body of work, and she actually calls triggering or being triggered hexing. And her theory on being triggered is it's actually an opportunity to heal. And I love that. Instead of being triggered and being like, I'm fucked, I'm shutting down, I'm broken, I'm irritable, it's like, ooh, I'm hexed. And she calls it hexed. And so when I was doing this work, in this community, it would be funny because I'd be like, fuck you guys, I'm hexed, and it brought humor, it brought lightness to something as heavy as a trigger, so I was like, fuck, I'm hexed, and, and I taught my friends, some of, of course my clients, but some of my best friend, David, I told him about hexing. And so we always joke now. He's like, are you hexed? I'm like, I actually am, so, but we can have this conversation because it brings lightness. It brings beauty into being triggered and a wound being up. It's like, okay, I could bring lightness to this. Instead of it feeling like death and I'm doomed, it's an opportunity to heal. It allows me space to make change and to add love where there is no love here. So again, you're going to be triggered in dating. You're going to be fucking triggered in relationships. Instead of looking at it as, why is this happening to me? It sounds corny, but why is this happening for me? What's happening here? You know what I mean? Like, why am I triggered? What needs to be, addressed? Where can I pour love on this? Like, what wants to heal from this situation? So I'm going to read some journal prompts, and I actually have these printed out. So if you want me to send them to you, you know the deal, shoot me an email. But you could pause this audio and, write down your thoughts, or if you're driving or walking, I just want you to reflect on some of these things, okay? So what do you think your biggest obstacle is in dating, love? What do you think one of your biggest triggers, your biggest obstacles are? What holds you back? Like, what's your biggest fear around dating, around really showing up in partnership, around leading from love? If you were to know that everything was going to work out, and not in like a rainbow bullshit way, work out through, there's going to be pain, there's going to be triggers, but it's going to be a messy, beautiful, aligned life thing, like that type of working out. If you knew everything was going to work out in love, how would you show up? What kind of partner slash dater, that's a word we're making up, do you want to be? So how do you want to show up in dating? And a sub-question I'll ask of that is, how can you start showing up as your inner date, regardless if you're in a partnership, partnerships or not? How can you start showing up as your inner love queen, king, royalty? What does that dating, king, queen, non-binary, fucking royalty rock star look like? How do they show up in love? How do they show up in dating? What is that like? So from where you are now, which there's no shame, there's nothing wrong with that. What is the bridge between where you are now and that inner royalty, that inner rock star, that person that leads with alignment and love and trust? And even though they've been through fucking hell, even though they've been through trauma and pain and rejection and abandonment and fear and just disturbing shit, how does that inner rock star still say, even with this, I'm going to show up? Actually, this stuff informed me to show up with even more love, with even more alignment. How does that person show up? And how can you start showing up as them now? It's so funny because I finally clicked, right? Because it feels... dating can sometimes feel so raw, so painful, so hard. And I don't know about you, but I took love out of it. And the whole point is that you're hopefully coming together with a human or humans for union, for love, for alignment, for play, for joy, for creation, for pleasure, for communication, for working shit through, and I lost the love piece. And I had to hop back to the love piece. And I had to ask myself, am I showing up in love? Meaning, am I loving to myself? Am I loving to others? Am I seeing situations with love? And not being like, I'm romancing life. I mean, I fucking love that shit. Give me all the rose petals and all the kombucha and feed me, all the chocolate in the land. Sure, but meaning, am I showing up from a place of fear and crunchiness and scarcity? Or am I showing up with trust and love and willing to see things differently? And I just want to remind us that piece. Because the point is, we're trying to find a person or persons that help us remember our magic and our joy and our love. And so we often jump into this topic with so much fear and so much crunchiness. So it sounds counterintuitive because, we're so often we date, we're on the defense. Did they like me? Did I like them? Are they my person? Am I fucked? It's like, hold on, we're supposed to, the end goal or, is enjoying the person that's in front of us, whether they are a lifelong partner or just momentarily, being with them, seeing them, loving on them. And so often we forget that aspect. And we go in with deer in headlight energy, fear, so this is my gentle reminder of this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be joyous. This is supposed to feel good. We're supposed to go in feeling lifted up and, lifting up others. It's funny because it's how does a dating coach date? And I think a big component of it, like I said, when I first started dating, I was doing more of the self-love, more of the confidence, more of the feeling good. And then, like I said, the last 2.5, 3 years was more about confronting the triggers, seeing where I was showing up anxious, dealing with my shit lovingly, and I did tons of exercises. And again, I have walked this path so deeply. You can call my friend Emily Diego and she would tell you, I've never seen anyone do more work than Erica, especially around love. But I would do exercises that and then turn around and hold clients through, like dating like a queen / king / non-binary royalty. I would show up as that person instead of dating for my scared fucking inner little child that was pick me. Did you pick me? Are you going to leave me? Am I going to be abandoned? I had to shift that. I had to hold so much space for my inner child. Baby girl, you're so safe. And I had to show up as a queen. I had to show up as leading through love instead of deep fear. Like I said, I had to work through my inner child stuff and hold her and make sure she felt safe. I had to work through fucking deep trauma. Taking a breath on that one. I had to look deeply where I was showing up as very avoidant. We could have a whole episode on this, like the attachment styles, but certain things would trigger me to be extremely avoidant, and certain things would trigger me to be extremely anxious. And I honestly err on the side of anxious, and that's up for my relationship now. And so healing and being with anxiety and love, oh, it's such a task. I'm like having diarrhea thinking about it. Like I'm literally fucking sweating because it's a task. It's a big, big, big task. Dating from a place of pleasure versus torture. Like I said before, I was going on these dates absolutely like, did I meet my person? It's like, bleh. So it's like I had to go in. I'm going to date from pleasure. First of all, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get something out of this, whether it's a good conversation, whether we had a laugh, or whether I got a lesson. And I'm going to go in from a state of pleasure, which, we're not taught that. We're taught, and we see in media, dates are bad and dates are awkward, or they're the most romantic things in the world. So it was up to me. I couldn't put my pleasure in this person's hands. I don't know them. That's an unfair responsibility. So I made it a ritual to like really enjoy getting ready, really have fun. Like even if it was torture to talk to this person, like, okay, how can we like laugh? How can we bond over something? Like I took my power back with my pleasure within dating. And that's my recommendation for you. I had to work on soul, heart-centered dating versus brain of like, I think this person works good. I think I'll just take the breadcrumbs. I also had to listen to my body and de-armor trauma that lived in my body from situations that were toxic and abusive and gross. I had to undo that and really lovingly hold myself and not put myself in situations that re-traumatized me or felt horrible, So I had to lead, instead of leading through my head and I have to get this done and I have to be the best dater, I had to listen to my body. I listened to my body about this person, but like listen to my body of, does this person feel safe? Do I feel safe? Do I want to keep dating this person? Do I want to entertain a physical relationship with them? That was a new thing for me. Instead of leading through my brain, I had to lead through my body and trusting my body, trusting my heart, trusting my soul. I had to, from a place not of stickiness, and because I know so often we see people like, what do you want? What's your list? And I actually will throw down a quick tool is I have my clients do this, is I have them write 2 lists. And it's a non-negotiable and it's a cherry on top. Because so often I'm like, I hear people be like, and I did this too, like, they need to be rich. They need to work at a Fortune 500 company. They have a boat. And I'm like, hold the fuck on. Those are cherry on tops. I think non-negotiables, if you want a real deep relationship, is kind-hearted, loyal, willing to do the work, trustworthy, So I recommend that to you. If you are in the dating process, I would write 2 lists. And what are the non-negotiables? Traits of this human, like what are non-negotiable traits of this human? And then what are cherry on tops? Okay, they love to vacation. They, like I would separate them because so often I see people merge them into one list and they're like, this person doesn't exist. Or you're muddling? Sure. We're muddying either. I don't think either are a word, but you get it. They're muddied up of the truth. Of the essence of the human that you're wanting to find, attract, be with, honestly. That's actually a good point. We'll say that in just a second. But, so I want you to focus on those 2 lists, separating them out. Here's a pro tip. Being. So often I see people on the non-negotiable, loyal, whatever, all those characteristics, loyal, trustworthy, hardworking, And I say, great, you have your list. And I turn around and I say, are you being those things? No shade, no judgment, but are you being those things on that list you want to attract? And so often the answer is no, and that's okay. So my suggestion is, after we hop off this podcast, I want you to write those 2 lists, the non-negotiables and the cherry on top. And then I want you to lovingly, not, persecute, or from a place of crucifixion, but a place of love, ask yourself, am I truly being everything on this list? And if I'm not, how can I start acting from that place? How can I start showing up from that place? How can these words be my intention of who I'm being in my life? Does that sound good? Is that a cool promise that we can make to ourselves? Instead of, these like gross New Year's resolutions. I mean, which there's no shade against, nothing wrong with it. But like, how about we look about the things that we see in people that we love? Like, can we start showing up to the best of our abilities as those things? And the last thing is I really was intentional about creating a new dating story. I had again, ask my friend Emily. I had many dating traumas. I mean, dating trauma. And so it was really easy, and it's still, to be completely transparent, it's easy to bring that into my relationship. And so I had to really get good. First of all, I had to rewrite a new dating story. I had to rewrite a new dating story of who I wanted to be, how I wanted to show up, what I wanted my relationship to dating to look like. And then I needed to course correct, and I still need to course correct now. Because it's easy for me to go back to that place of trauma. It's easy for me to go back to that place of, this is horrible and I'll never be It's easy for me to go there. It's easy for all of us, especially if we have, and we all do to some degree, a trauma. So my suggestion is lovingly come back to what is my new dating story? What is my new love story? I know what my old love story is. It's dark, like there are some shining moments, but there's dark. There's a lot of abandonment. There's a lot of not being seen. There's a lot of abuse and grossness. I know what that is. And I honor that piece of me. I love that piece of me. It informed me. It makes me a compassionate human being that sees people and knows people and understands people. But how can, to the best of my ability, get off of that story? So I love that story. I see that story. I honor that piece of me. But how can I come back to that new dating story or that new love story where I'm like, I'm going to fight for love. I'm to the best of my ability. And my love story is I'm going to fight for love. Even though my past shit, my past trauma, my past stories and things, like how can I still show up as a loving human being? How can I show up in love? How can I fight for a love that feels communicative and juicy and aligned and fun and pleasurable? So we always dip back. That's human nature. But my suggestion is writing, reflecting what you want your new love story to be, and to your best of your ability, which is another reason why we, need community, is coming back to this new narrative, coming back, feeling safe in this new narrative. It's a lot of work. And like I said, I'm like, shit, I think I read one paragraph of what I wrote out for these notes because I'm not kidding. I have worked actively so hard on dating, and I am so proud of myself because I had to go to the fucking depths of my soul. And I know, as I was triggered yesterday, there's still more work to do. There's so much to talk about on this topic. And dating, being in love is no small feat. It's hard. We're confronting our stuff, but it's worth it. It's worth it to have a space to finally heal these wounds, to be seen, to be loved, to nourish ourselves. It's the biggest gift. And that's why I love doing this work so much. Like, yes, do I love seeing people have successful dates and meeting a partner? Fuck yeah, duh. I'm like, yes. I'm thinking of a client that was like, you helped me meet my husband. I'm like, yay. Like that brings me so much joy. But it was just as joyful to watch her learn deep self-love and to show up as love and to confront her triggers. Like that was just as rewarding and juicy and a privilege to watch, quite honestly. So there's so much to talk about. I know we're at time. You got to hop. You got things to do. I got things to do. We got work to do. We got spiritual work to do. We got love work to do. I think there's a lot more to come on this topic because this is a hashtag topic. But I'll leave you with this. I love you so much. Whether you're in a partnership, you're dating yourself, you're dating others, you're worthy of feeling good. You're worthy of turning inward and doing the work. There is a community for you. There is a space for you. I know sometimes doing this work feels very confronting. It feels very lonely. It feels overwhelming. There is a community for you. There's a space for you. There are people that love you, that see you, that support you, that are cheering you on. And I'm one of them. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. And I hope this topic wasn't from a place of daunting. I hope you, as we talked about with the hexing, it's an exciting place. Instead of looking at this topic as overwhelming and, it's actually exciting. It's fun. There's something to play with. Like there's new energy when we get triggered, when we have these things to heal. There's an opportunity to rise. There's an opportunity to play. There's an opportunity to add love and pleasure and joy into a place that felt cracked and dusty and hollow and a place that felt There's actually now an opportunity to add magic and fun to it. So I hope you look at this conversation instead of, oh fuck, it's oh fuck. I'm excited. I have an opportunity now to turn on my life a little bit more, to lead more from love, to be more in alignment, and to go after what I want. So this is a really exciting conversation. I'm really excited for you wherever you are on your path. More magic, more goodness, more love to come. I'm here for you in whatever capacity you need, whether it's being one-on-one or whether it's just being a friend, whether it's being an ear. All my free resources. Hop on my website, www.wethelight.org, and let's be in community. I love you. I'm proud of you. And here is to more magic, more abundance, and more love. Let us be it. Let us live it. Let us have it. I fucking love you. Bye. Thank you, seriously thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and on this podcast journey. And if you loved what we talked about today and you know another human who could definitely benefit from what was discussed, I would so appreciate if you would go ahead and share this podcast with them. Don't forget, hit subscribe or follow so you never ever miss an episode. And the great news is you can always follow me, my work, my blog, my podcast on my website at www.wethelight.org. And hey, remember, life is so much brighter when we shine. I'll see you next time.